ConcreteGeniusMedia.com. It's your boy, Sauce Mackenzie. Follow me on all socials at Concrete Genius Pod. Again, I'm blessed with the presence of esteemed NBA writer, very, very intelligent, opinionated, former Slam, former Chicago Bulls writer, Chicago native Bryan Crowe. B. Crowe, what's happening?
What's going on?
Chilling. I saw some things today where Darryl Morey said he uses chat GPT or basically AI to help with 76ers decisions when it comes to moves being made with the team. And I want to know your first impression when you heard that.
Man, it's crazy because I actually woke up to that. Wake up, look at your phone, and it was like the first thing I saw. And I was like, AI, I thought he was talking about Allen Iverson. Like, that was my first thought. You know what I'm saying? I'm in Philly. You say AI, like, that's the first thing I think about. So I go and I watch the video, and he talking about LLM, which I think is like linear learning models or whatever. And it was just like, bro, like, what we doing, man? Like, but I ain't never been a fan of like Darryl Morey or none of them stat nerds, man. All the analytics bullshit. It ain't really, to me, it ain't really got no place in basketball. Like, it's been like a 15-year thing for me. And like, why I've been kind of like taking it personal. I feel like these motherfuckers is colonizers in the sport, man, and they trying to reinvent the wheel and act like they way is better. They taking credit for the 3-point revolution and all that shit is stupid to me, man. Because if it was really like that, we would see big differences. You know what I'm saying? It ain't nobody putting up no scoring averages that we ain't seen before. I think the closest was James Harden at 36 in the modern era. I think Mike put up like 37 somewhere up in there. Steph Curry, the greatest shooter of all time, his 2 best scoring seasons was like 25 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? I just don't get it. And I think, Darryl Morey is, I don't know, man. I've always said this, and I wholeheartedly believe it just because of the conversations and like some of the battles I used to have with these dudes on social media. When it was Twitter back in the early days, the only thing they champions of was like mediocrity. You know what I'm saying? Like Darryl Morey, he can hang his hat on a winning percentage of like, I think his career winning percentage is like 65%. That's good. You can hang that, you can hang your hat on that in the regular season, but you ain't never won shit. You know what I'm saying? I'm watching that clip and Kevin O'Connor, he one of them stat nerd dudes, he the same one. He calling for Nico Harrison to get fired after, the Luka trade, but you love Darryl Morey, who ain't never done nothing. You know what I'm saying? He talking to Twin, talking about, yeah, well, Darryl Morey has some success. He went to a game 7 in the Western Conference Finals. So what? You still lost. Like, what we talking about? You still lost. So it doesn't really mean anything. You built this team in Philadelphia. They ain't got past the second round. So what? What we talking about? Like, this is not an impressive thing to me at all, man. Like, the nerds, man, like, pack their ass up and get them the fuck up out of here, man. That's how I feel about that.
and it's amazing to me because when you shared the Kevin O'Connell clip, instantly I got a little frustrated. You calling for Nico Harrison to be fired for a trade that was more than likely forced by his owners. You know what I mean? But here you are, you compliment Darryl Morey and with no mention of the ineptitude of the Philadelphia 76ers, and that's what I found amazing.
No mention of his ineptitude as a GM, just period. You know what I'm saying? Like, Houston ain't did nothing worth talking about, man. Philly definitely ain't did nothing worth talking about. And just a lot of his moves, there's a complete disconnect between the analytics crowd and people who actually know basketball. And the analytics crowd feel like they know better, but they ain't got nothing to show for it at all. Like, they ain't got nothing to show for it at all. If that was ever a purely analytics driven championship, we'd have heard about that shit. They wouldn't have never let it go. You know what I'm saying? They'd been banging that drum forever, but it ain't never happened, and it's never gonna happen because that's not basketball. That's not how it's played. That's not how you assemble a team. And you asking a fucking computer for input decision. That's the dumbest thing I heard since the Sacramento Kings was like crowdsourcing their draft picks like 10 years ago or whatever that shit was. That shit is stupid, man. That ain't got nothing to do with the game.
And I also, it's very shocking to me that a sport as globally popular as basketball, just through the efforts of the legends, the Birds, the Magics, the Barkleys, the Zekes, and a lot more legends that grew the game globally, it's just so amazing that people allow not just non-basketball people, but non-athletes to just have so much sway in the direction of the game with. I find it amazing.
I mean, Darryl Morey is a special case because he linked up with two owners who don't really give a shit. You know what I'm saying? Down in Houston, you got Tillman Fertitta. And then up here in Philly, you got Josh Harris, who owns the Redskins, and I think he got like a soccer team or something like that over overseas or whatever. So these guys not even like invested. Like most billionaires in their own teams, it's really just a hobby for them. They don't really make a lot of bread like that. It's actually a money pit for the most part. So there's no real investment, there's no real connection, and that's cool if you put the right people in place. But I mean, Daryl Morey should never have a job. He should have never got a job. Like he's not a smart dude at all, especially when it comes to basketball. He's an idiot.
Yeah. Hey, you sound just like Charles Barkley, man. That's how I know this is on the right page, because this is the exact thing Charles Barkley said all the time. Like, all these smart people that have never shot a basketball are destroying the game.
I mean, it matters, man. It matters a lot. So you gotta have basketball people in basketball. I just firmly believe that. It's a lot of brilliant, like actual basketball minds that are basically sitting on the sideline. Like I watched that clip when he was talking about using the AI. He telling Pablo Torre he using, if one LLM don't get it, then he'll use multiple, two, three, and he'll put that above scouts. Are you fucking kidding me? Like these
That's
dudes,
crazy.
like, what I'm saying? They in and out of gyms. They watching these players. They
Yeah.
understand. And then, Twin called it. He was like, man, this is Philly. Like it's a certain type of player that you gotta have in this town, that resonates with this city. You know what I'm saying? So if you was really locked in to plug in like that, you never would have brought in a fucking Paul George. You wouldn't have done nothing like that. You wouldn't even brought in James Harden, honestly. His track record speaks for itself. You get to the playoffs and he gonna famously flame out. It was like, so like what we doing? Like, are you trying to win, or you just like are you trying to win a championship, or you trying to stroke your own ego? And I really think it's the latter, man. I don't really think he give a shit because he don't know basketball at all. I'm standing on that. I challenge him on anything basketball related. Believe that.
As far back, were you still, what point exactly did you see, for fans watching and listening, when did the first analytics shape, stands start taking place? Like, when did they first bring analytics to the game and it started having an influence?
I mean, I saw it start bubbling around, I don't know, 2008, 2009. I hate to say his name, but well, I won't say his name. The analytics has been largely driven on the back of one player, and I'm not talking about Steph Curry.
Yeah.
When they got to talking about like efficiency and two is more than three and all of this shit, get rid of the mid-range game. That's a bad shot. But that efficiency stuff, that kind of ushered in on the back of one dude, and it kind of morphed and spread out from there. You know what I'm saying? Then they started gravitating to Steph and Golden State and all of this. And don't get me wrong, man. Like I like Steph Curry. You know what I'm saying? I like guys who can shoot a three. I think it's dope as hell that Dame Lillard can pull from beyond half court like it's a regular jumper. That's cool. Step back threes are cool. But I said this over the weekend. Don't really matter how you get to it or how far you shoot it. It's still just 3 points. You know what I'm saying? You got a basketball court is 94 by 50 feet. And you want to tell me the only two good shots in the game is a shot at the rim or a three-pointer? No, the best shot in the game is the one that you can get. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's from the mid-range or, whether it's, the high post, low post on the block, whatever. The best shot is the one that you can make, the one that you can get the easiest. Dumbing it down to just two shots and then making it the end all be all to basketball, man. Fuck that nerd shit. That's not the game. How we gonna take input from people who never played? I don't understand it. I just don't get it. It don't make sense to me. That's like me saying I can tell a surgeon how to do his job because I watched the fucking video on YouTube. It's stupid.
Yeah, yeah. And then I started seeing all these stats, like just growing up being a student of the game, watching, stats. And I started seeing all these other stats coming in, and you start seeing the pushers, true shooting percentage, possible efficiency. Like, listen, if you can score and you can kill from the mid range, then that should be your game. Like DeMar DeRozan is an amazing player and he mastered the mid range. Kobe Bryant was an amazing player. He mastered the mid range. So fortunately, he was born in the generation he was in, because today people would have tried to alter his game. Unfortunately, like we don't respect the purity of basketball. And I feel like sometimes if it was brought to phase out the style of maybe Black American players or just American players and usher in a more European style, I think that combined with the analytics put us on the train we on right now.
I mean, I won't disagree with that. The other issue that I've always had with analytics is that they've used it to like devalue certain players. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
and in that process, they tried to rewrite history. You can't fucking tell me that Allen Iverson wasn't a great player because of his 3 point. I mean, his field goal percentage, or because he shot a large volume of shots. They use analytics, and they was doing those rankings, and I'll never forget this because he said something about it. I think it was ESPN. It's like they do their top 100 or whatever it is they do. And one year, Kobe Bryant was like 20th, and he was like, "You telling me it's 19 better in the league, 19 players in the league better than me? Like, that's a joke." You know what I'm saying? So it's like, what are we talking about? It's shit like that that just shows how little these people know about basketball. The biggest problem to me with it is like fans have like legitimized it. And I've always said for a long time that fans are dumb. Like really, like I truly believe that fans are dumb. And y'all taking y'all basketball cues and what y'all know about the game, what y'all think y'all know about the game from some fucking nerds. Are you kidding me? These people can't make an offhand layup in an empty gym, but you trusting them to tell you about basketball? That's a
Yeah.
joke, man. It's stupid.
Yeah.
My mind can't even wrap around that. And they hate me, and I don't really care. Like I hate them back. I
Yeah.
really do. Like I said, they colonizers to me. One thing that's true about colonizers, everything they touch, they fuck up. And that is historically proven.
Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ. It's crazy how we saw it go from one team, like when Houston was doing it, okay, y'all trying something different. But now if you watch an NBA game, and I think it led to guys whose strength has never been or will never be 3-point shooting, start thinking they had to make a bunch of threes to be in the league. I remember seeing a video with Dwight Howard shooting a bunch of threes, and I'm like, when did the game come to this where a 6'11" athletic big who dominated the game around the rim feels like he got to shoot a million 3-pointers from outside to get back in the league? You know what I mean? They started phasing
Mhm.
certain players out the league, and then now it's trickled all the way down to college, to some high schools, and to mostly AAU, because now you see kids in third, fourth grade hoisting up threes with no common knowledge of the game or how to score from all points in the game. You know what I mean? All areas of the court. So it's really
Well, I
out of
mean,
control.
this is the damage that that's been done by analytics because the NBA has always set the standard for what the lower levels do in the style of play. They've always done that. Like that's never changed. I posted some on my story the other day. Like you said, it was like these kids were like 7, 8 years old. You know what I'm saying? And they shooting threes, and one kid shoved a little kid and pushed them all in the face, and then some parent, I don't know who the fuck this was, but they need to be evaluated. They send a kid out there with a bunch of fake tattoos on his arm. You know what I'm saying? What are we doing? But all of this comes from the change at the top, which is the
Yeah.
NBA. And people don't even really it's not even like really resonating them with where this comes from and how it started. But I never lost sight of it because I saw it. And so basically the problems with the game right now, the reason the game is broken is because the nerds fucked it up. They broke it. I am not going to not ever hold their feet to the fire on that. And I'm not going to ever hold them responsible for the immense damage that they have done to this game.
Quick question. Do you think the analytics movement would have happened? And rest in peace to David Stern. Do you think any of this would have happened under David Stern's watch? Yeah.
Not at all. He was a basketball guy at the end of the day. He's a basketball guy. Adam Silver is, I mean, and he, don't get me wrong, he was still commissioner when all of this stuff was kind of being ushered in, but it was being talked about. It wasn't being like embraced. I want to say John Hollinger may have been the first analytics guy to get an NBA job, if I'm not mistaken. Darryl Morey, no, it was somebody, whoever was in Philly before him. Damn, I'm drawing a blank on his name. But there was another guy. The trust the process dude. He was another one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you got Darryl Morey, who like Hollinger also came from the sports writing world. But no, and then you get Adam Silver to come in and obviously new commissioner, new vision. He wants to put his own stamp on the game. But Adam Silver, he took over something that wasn't broken, right? Like all he had to really do was just build a foundation that was already laid. But he started catering to the analytics crowd. He started catering to the gamblers. So his tenure as commissioner, to me, in my mind, is gonna be tainted, like no doubt, because he has ushered in a lot of things into the game that have no place in the game, that shouldn't even be in the game. And a lot of people have, gotten jobs and, made their way into this space. You fucking ruined it because they don't know the first thing about
I
basketball.
think the guy we talking about, Sam Hinkie. Is that who you talking
And
about?
Hinkie, yeah, Hinkie, him, he another one. Fucking moron.
Yeah.
Like he the dude that like he codified losing on purpose, tanking. And this is what I'm saying. Like all of these dudes, like Kevin O'Connor's, there's a whole bunch of them. The Matt Moores, fuck him forever. All these dudes, like they started talking about this shit, man, and they just started legitimizing. And you know what they say, man, about a lie, the more you talk about it, it eventually becomes true. And that's kind of what happened with this. They legitimize it, they talk about it, well, ESPN is talking about it, so it must be official. Now they talking about it on sports, on Fox Sports, so it must be official. No. But again, like I said, fans are dumb. So they don't know where all this shit is coming from. But you can't fool me, man. I've been tracking it. I've lived it.
Yeah, yeah. Do you ever see a shift back, or if you do, like how soon, or what you think can bring that shift about?
I don't know, man. I really don't. I think, if once certain guys leave and walk away from the game, I think, it'll be kind of like the pandemic where it becomes an opportunity to like reset everything. And that's kind of like my hope. I've been saying that, but we'll see. But as long as what's in place currently remains in place, there won't be any changes. But I think people, even though they may not be saying it loud and calling it out, I think people are kind of seeing like what an abject failure it is. But I seem to be the only person voicing that, and that's cool. I can stand on it.
Yeah, real shit, real shit. Yeah, I totally agree with you. I think it's taking the game a certain way, and I want to ask you a question before I let you get out of here, man. What are some teams you watching? Because I was watching the Nets, right, and I was like, this coach Fernandez, he really got the kids playing hard. He's very passionate, energetic. They very competitive. So I want to ask you, in your opinion, what non-contending teams do you like watching, and how well they coach? Like, what coaches do you like watching? It's kind of under the radar.
I mean, Jordy Fernandez is one. I'm very interested to see, what the brother in Charlotte can do.
Mhm.
Uh, Non-contending. The young cat in San Antonio.
Yeah, I like him.
That's
I like
kind of
him.
been taking over. That took over for Pop.
Yeah,
He seemed like he knew what he doing. I mean, do Orlando count? They winning, but they not. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? They're not
yeah,
necessarily contending for anything. I like them too. So those teams definitely. Fernandez, Duke and Charlotte, San Antonio, and Orlando. I like how they got them playing, and I like Detroit. They're not. And I've said this before. They're not contending for anything, but they play a brand of basketball and the style of basketball that I like, that I can appreciate. So I'm rocking with them, man. Even as a Chicago dude, yeah, I'm rocking with Detroit.
yeah. I'm a very big fan of Detroit. You mentioned that. You kind of put me on a few pods ago, and I really started watching their games from head to toe, and they really, really play good basketball. And shout out to JB Bickerstaff, because he really rejuvenated that program after, kind of maybe, unceremoniously getting pushed out of Cleveland. What did you think about Shaq's Detroit comments?
Oh man,
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Even if he know what's going on, he gonna play crazy just because of
even
that
if
old
he know
folks
what's
energy.
going on, he gonna act like he don't. He ain't gonna give him no props and no credit. When he said that they was born, I was like, Shaq, you tripping.
Yeah,
Ain't no
yeah,
way that ain't no way you watching this team and saying, that they born. So you either watching them and you just hating, or you just really hating and you not watching them at all, and you just kind of going off how you feel. Ain't no way you can watch that team and say that they born to look at. They are absolutely not.
yeah. Do you think with the right matchup they can win a first round series?
Nah,
It'll
you
be
know how I
tough.
feel about youth, man.
Yeah,
You gotta. This team won 18 games last year. And then now they one of the top teams in the East, but their playoffs is a different monster. So you kind of you got to go through that. And could they potentially sneak somebody? Maybe. Do I think they will? I don't think so. You got to like I said, it takes time. You got to build up to that. So I don't know. I give them 50-50 depending on who they match up with.
yeah. Depending on who they match up with, I think between Boston, you got Boston, Cleveland. They the big dogs, and then I think maybe if they the 6, you know, they can be pesky to New York. You know what I mean? They could give New York some issues with the right setup. You see the exchange between Hart and Tibbs?
No.
Yeah, so I think a lot of people mention on Twitter, you know, Thibodeau has a reputation, as you know, from being in Chicago covering the Bulls, of kind of overusing his starters. Do you think that's a legitimate criticism?
You talking about Mikal Bridges?
No,
That
it was
one?
him and Hart had a. Was it? I think it was Hart. It was Josh Hart and Thibodeau had a
I
real
thought
heat exchange.
I didn't see the exchange. I know Bridges had said something about it.
Yeah,
Where he said, you know, he needs to kind of lean on the bench more because it's not too, you know, it's not fun, you know, just kind of being the starters playing all those minutes. I didn't see the Hart thing. Tibbs is old school, man. Like you know, he from that era. You know, he came up under Van Gundy. You know what I'm saying? So like you know, he from that era where he believed in guys playing 38, 39, 40 minutes. And he ain't ever wavered from that. He's won like that. You know, he hasn't won a championship. You know, he's gotten close. He's gotten to a conference finals. I think to a degree you can have that old school mentality while also kind of adjusting to the modern day and modern style of basketball. But you know, a lot of these dudes, they used to like taking days off. You know, they used to load management and all that type of stuff. I know 1,000% Tibbs ain't with that. So there's always gonna be kind of like a disconnect and a, you know, it's gonna be a fight there. But you know, you can't knock Tibbs for his style because it worked and everywhere he's gone, he's won. You know, he may have to relent and adjust a little bit. I do think that, you know, if you got guys on your bench you could play, you should play them. You know, particularly in Chicago, where early on a lot of the success that they had under him was because they had that bench, and he could bring in guys who could, you know, come off the bench and give him energy and give a spark, and you know, when you could, you know, give you a chance to rest your starters without drop off. I have noticed over the years he's leaned a lot more heavily on his starters, so he has changed in that regard. But you know, there was a time when he did utilize his bench. He can get back to that. As far as the Josh Hart thing, I gotta look it up. I can't speak on him because I ain't see it.
yeah. Now I think it's gonna be a good home stretch. I'm excited to see what's going on. And the last thing I want to get you out of here on is I know you're a big Kobe guy, RIP Kobe, but I want to just let you send a message to some of these young guys, the newer guys, and the non-basketball people. Congrats to SGA. He's having a great year. But can we please stop rushing to compare a current player to greats who've already done it over established 10, 20-year period? No disrespect to him, but I just want everybody to chill on the Kobe comparisons. It was a different league, different era, different style of play. Let him be great amongst himself without trying to tear down somebody who's already done it.
I didn't see the Kobe thing. I actually saw the Jordan thing, but I mean it kind of tracks. Here's the thing I say about that. Most of the Jordan comparisons come with 90s Jordan, and not even like 91, 92, 93, 96, 97, 98, like them last years. Those are the guys that they compare him to because 1980s Michael Jordan, you can't compare him to nobody. Like that is totally different. You know, I've said this too. The current fan today is not really a fan of basketball. They're a fan of players because I'm a fan of basketball. You're a fan of basketball. And never in my life have we ever torn down a Dr. J to lift up a Michael Jordan. You know, never did we ever tear down Kareem to lift up Shaq or Akeem Olajuwon. Never did we ever tear down Isaiah Thomas to lift up a Steph Curry. We didn't do that. Like that's not what we did. Like we appreciated players for who they were, what they did, what they meant to us, the era that they played in. And then we accepted the new guys and appreciated them for who they were and what they brought and what their potential could be based on their level of talent. And we kind of let them all like exist in their own lane, in their own space. And we appreciated them for one thing, and that was because regardless of if they won a lot or, you know, regardless, you know, whatever type of individual or the team success that they had, we could see that they didn't cheat the game. They played hard and they went about it quote unquote the right way. I can always remember, in the '90s and even in the early 2000s turning on the TV, and I've said this last time, I could turn on the TV and watch a game and knew that the stars of the teams that I was watching was going to be out there and play. You know what I'm saying? You can't say that now. You could have a marquee matchup on ESPN on a Friday night between pick whatever two teams, and you turn that shit on, and the best player on both teams is in street clothes. And now you don't even watch the game no more. You don't even want to watch the game no more. That never existed. And I think there's too many fans who grew up under that, so it's normal to them. And they push back on the things that we talk about because they can't relate to it. And I just think that's sad, man. I honestly think today's fans have been cheated out of a real basketball experience because of all this other extra bullshit that go on in the game that didn't exist before. So in a sense, I can't blame them because they don't know any better. But they absolutely should know better than to not tear down a guy like Kobe Bryant or not tear down a guy like Michael Jordan. They absolutely should know better than that because I have more respect for the game than that. You know what I'm saying? But if you only are a fan of your favorite player, you don't know the first thing about basketball, and going back to the whole start of this conversation, listen to these fucking nerds who tell you, who you should like and why you should like them, and because of this. No, man. I think today's fans are like sorely misguided, and they have missed out on the experience that we were, privileged to kind of grow up in.
Great point, man. Amazing, B Craw, man. I appreciate you, dog. I know you got a short window, so I'm gonna let you get out of here. Just shout out to Twitter, man, and we'll get back to it.
Yes, sir. Man.
Yes, sir. I'll see you in a minute. Peace.